How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to cover the topics we discussed in class last week, which includes changing the display properties for maps. And particularly, we're going to go over how to change the display properties for points, polygons, and lines. The first technique that we're going to look at is one where we apply the same characteristics or the same attributes to all of the observations. In order to do this, what we will do is we will right click on the layer name, which will open this display box, and then we will click on the symbol, and that will open up another dialog box which will give us a number of other options. Specifically, what we are going to see here is that we are going to be able to look at an entire color palette, and then we're going to hover over the colors until we find the one of interest. In this case, it's gray 50%. And the key to this technique is that what we're doing is treating all of the observations the same. So in this case, all of the streets will get the same treatment, and they all will look uniform but more muted than they were originally. So again, when we apply the characteristics to all attributes or to all features, it will look the same. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to apply the characteristics just to selected areas, and this way we can feature specific points. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to click on this color, and then you see what we have is we can take these individual values and we'll change them all to the same color. And when that happens, you'll see everything that we do will apply to all of the layers that we have selected. And you'll see here what happens when we click OK is that we have highlighted all of these highways, and they are more readily available, are readily viewable compared to the other streets. The next data type that we're going to work on are the points, and specifically we're going to apply some of the same techniques in that we are going to look at how to apply unique characteristics to points individually, as well as create unique symbols for them individually. When we turn to the point level data, we're going to apply some of the same techniques, only now to a different type of data. And the first we're going to look at is looking at the unique values, and we can do this in two ways. We can click on the properties menu, and then when we click on categories, you'll see we're going to have two options. So we'll choose the school type as a variable of interest, and then you'll see we can choose add all values or add values. If we choose just add values, we can select which categories, one or more to choose from to display, but not all of them. And as we do in this case, we're going to click add all values. Because we have no missing data, we can uncheck the all other values. And what we'll see here is that each school type has its own color. And if we were to right click on the menu for one of the categories and select apply to all, we can make a single change. We can change the size for all of them by selecting that just one category. So that's a useful tool to keep in mind. The next procedure we're going to talk about is one where we're going to create unique size, shape, and color for each of these individual symbols as a means of distinguishing between them even further. The goal here is not to suggest that you choose any of these specific types, but more just to illustrate the flexibility and the versatility in terms of modification and of the display properties. So when we have the properties menu open, we can click on any of them, or we can use, or when we do click on them, we could then use the symbol selector, the search engine, to search for types of icons that may apply. In this case, there's no hard and fast rule that says we have to use specific icons to display certain kinds of information. They can be helpful, so I suggest looking at them, but you're not required to use them, nor are they always the most effective. So we'll go through these examples, and what you'll see at the very end is that we were able to distinguish between these schools using different symbols. And one of the points that I wanted to make here is that I suggest trying different options. And so here I'm going to try the shape that I thought might look okay on the map. And I see after adding it that it's really hard to see. It's not very effective. It's not very effective. And so what I will do is I'll go back and I'll just change it. And I'll change the color and then change the size. And what we'll see here is that, in just a sec, that the map now has all of these different symbols which show the different school types. And so the last one we're going to look at is one where we check out the intensity, or what we refer to generally as sort of a spatial incidence. And so when we're looking at the overall spatial distribution, what we see here is that we know where events happen, but we don't know how many events happened at each location. To get at that point, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the quantities tab and then graduated symbols. The variable we're going to choose is called CFS underscore CNT. So that's calls for service, the count of calls per service, calls for service. These data are also on Canvas, so you can create this map on your own as well. And what you'll see here is that there's a wide range of values from 1 to nearly 100. And so we can distinguish between the intensity by changing the symbol level or using graduated symbols. What I'm going to show here in just a second is how you can combine, if it's effective for a map, and I think it can be, is to combine the intensity of the symbol size with a graduated color ramp. And in order to do that, we'll have to change each one of these colors individually. So I'll zoom in here real quick, which will help to illustrate the differences in the colors, and also show how we can really get a sense of the intensity. So if we click on the properties menu and then go to the symbology tab, we are going to click on each one of these symbol levels individually, and we're going to change the colors. And what you'll see at the end is that by combining these two, I feel it illustrates not only the prevalence but also the incidence in an intuitive way. So which color scheme to use is up to you, of course, and it's important to keep in mind that the goal of this is to communicate the information effectively, and it's not to suggest that this is a technique that you have or must use. I only bring it up here because it again illustrates just how flexible and how configurable the display properties are. And so here we'll find the last color, and when we click apply and OK, you'll see that we get a sense of both the intensity. The color kind of underscores the intensity argument. Finally, what we're going to talk about is polygons, and we're going to do many of the same things we've done before. So using the ganglands data, we're going to add unique values. And so this is similar to what we just went over. And when we look at the properties menu and then the categories, we're going to have two options where we can add all values or just add values. First, if we the variable we're going to want is the gang name. And if we add all values, you'll see this is the standard set of gangs in the city of Gotham, and we use unique colors for each category. What we can also do is we can display only some of the gang territories rather than display all of them. In order to do that, and this applies, I should mention that this technique you can use for all different types of data. So points, lines, and polygons. So here what we're going to do, again, we go to the properties menu, we select gang as a variable, and here we click on add, and we can choose one or multiple values using Control or Shift. But you see when we add only unique values, we're going to see information only for one of the ganglands. Again, we're going to, for the purposes of illustration, if we go back to categories and we go to add all values for the gangs, you're going to see here that, again, just distinguishing between the two, and here we can use what's called kind of a stretched color rather than unique colors if we so chose. Let's see, so let's try to find something that maybe is a little bit better. Okay, so here you see we now again have unique, we've distinguished between the ganglands based on their unique values. Finally, what we're going to talk about here is going to the properties menu, and here's what I was talking about before, where we can use kind of a stretched color or a more nuanced color arrangement. I find that this can be effective when we are we have a number of values over a larger range, so we can get see the gradations across them. It kind of illustrates the nuance a little bit better. Lastly, what we're going to do is we are going to apply labels to the ganglands, and this is also done through the properties menu, and you'll see up at the top we've used this menu before. We're going to click on labels and then click the box that said label features, and we're going to click on the variable gang, and you'll see that after we do that and click OK, now we have each of the gang names labeled, each of the gang territories labeled. Last but not least, we're going to save this gang layer as this gang information as a layer file, and this is useful if we are going to need to use the gang map over and over, and it will preserve both the color and the location, or I'm sorry, the color and the labels. So we went through the steps of saving the layer file, and now I'm going to add it back. And what you will see in just a second is that once we open this file back up, we see that everything that we had done previously is saved in just the same way, which by preserving that layer file saves us time in the long run. And so those are the things that we covered. Thank you for watching, and please be in touch with questions.